Hey, it's Les from the TV Dudes. This week, I'm lucky enough to chat with actress Jearnest Corchado. Jearnest plays Marisol on the new Apple TV series Little America, and we discuss how she learned to play squash for the role, what she loves about being on set, how she bonds with her coworkers, and much more. Hope you enjoy.
Hey,
Hey, thank you so much for making time today. I really appreciate it.
of course. Thank you so much for having me. And yes, and being here for me. Thank you. I appreciate you.
So I was just reading through actually Rolling Stone's review of the first season of Little America, which I believe y'all just got a season two pickup as well.
Yeah,
Uh,
we did.
and and wow, what a glowing review. I mean, that has to be the kind of review that you want to come out about your project. I mean, I think they call y'all the best thing Apple TV's done so far. Uh, can you talk a little bit about uh, obviously the pedigree this project has? If you know you're walking into a project by Office alum and Big Sick
All right.
writer and director, and what did you know about the project going in, and did that have any effect on your nerves or how you had to prep yourself?
You know what? I didn't know much actually. When I got the audition, I it was a self tape, and they didn't even tell me who was producing it or for what platform it was. I think it was still like very secretive. And then when I booked the job, and then I started realizing who was involved in the project, that's when it really hit me. Um, so I'm a huge fan of Kumail and Angiani and Emily from like doing the Big Sick. I love the Big Sick. So knowing that they were involved in the project was so big for me, and it felt like okay, I made it. However, I don't think I knew how big it was gonna be, Little America. Like even doing it, everything happened so fast that I had to basically I booked the job on Monday, and I think I needed to leave Tuesday to New York. And so I was still kind of like, okay, let's do this. Let's do this. I booked this. Come on. And then when I met the director, who was Aurora Guerrero, she basically told me, yeah, we have to basically train you. You're going to have 4 days of training for squash, and we're going to go straight to production on the fifth day. So yeah, welcome. So I didn't have much of a chance to think, which I kind of like, it was great to just start working and focusing. And I really love the fact that it was based on a true story as well. When they told me that it was based on a girl, now she's a woman, Reina Pacheco, and I learned about her story, I think I just treated it as an indie film. And
Yeah.
next to Aurora Guerrero, it felt like that. It felt just like we were in it together as a team, and we didn't really we didn't think much other than focusing on the plot and the story and making sure that we stayed true to it as much as we could.
I think a lot of prestige television, from both sides of the camera, has to feel like small independent movies. I was talking to a director who uh, had done a lot of television work, and then his films had been small produced things, and he talked about realizing that every television episode he'd ever done had twice the budget of any movie he'd ever done, and
Yep.
and that really that's kind of where it goes, especially in something that's a vignette anthology kind of series like this. I
Right.
know I
Right.
know part of your goals in entertainment and goals in your career uh, are to move behind the camera and to be a badass filmmaker, as you put it. Um,
Yes. Yes.
can you talk a bit about the experience of getting to see a show with this kind of pedigree get made, and did that change uh, what you think might be possible?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, as a filmmaker myself, I'm still in the early stages, and I've produced most of the things that I've done myself. So it always has been like $10,000 or less. So to make some as an actress, I've had the beautiful opportunity of working in projects that have a huge budget, especially Little America. Working with Apple TV was definitely one of the most. I think it's probably the most expensive show I've worked on. I'm not completely sure, but I just know that they definitely put the money there, and they always had a yes for any questions or any requests that the director or production people needed. So that was nice. I mean, as a filmmaker, I would love to eventually work and produce content that's like that has that amount of budget, because if in the little amount of time that I've worked as a filmmaker, I've been able to do shorts with less than $10,000 and still inspire people with them and still be proud of them. And I've been able to tell stories that I'm proud of. I cannot imagine what I would be able to do with that amount of money, honestly. But that's probably happening soon. We'll see. Right now, I'm focusing on acting because it's the easiest thing right now for me. And because that was my first dream, to become an actress and work as an actress. And I hope that as I keep working as an actress, I keep opening doors on that other side of the industry, which is producing and maybe directing at some point as well.
You had mentioned the squash training, and I had wondered about that. I am familiar with squash courts as that thing I walk past in a gym that I don't think I've ever used. And like I'm vaguely aware that it's racquetball-ish, but that's about it. Was it? I'm sure almost any acting gig is going to have some physicality that you just aren't going to do in your normal life. I mean, there's no way that you've screamed and ran the way you might have in Kukui the Boogeyman.
Right.
But
That's so funny.
but
Yeah.
was it? What was it like to? Were there additional nerves knowing that you were going to have to step into well, okay, I've got to pick this up.
You know what? I don't know. I just feel like I've always been very athletic, and I love sports, especially I love sports. I've always been kind of like intrigued by every sport, even if I'm not the best. I want to be like give my 100%. So when I was playing squash, when I started it, I think because I had played tennis before, and I thought it was pretty cool, pretty good at it, I guess. But squash was a completely different game, and learning that it was also a mind game, that you had to strategize, that you have to kind of trick the opponent. I think that was I treated this role as I treated the squash. And what I mean with this is, in squash, and something that I learned thanks to my actual coach, Eli, he's a squash professional player, and he was the one that actually guided me through the whole process. He taught me that you had to be really focused. You had to be really focused on the moment, be very present while you're playing squash. So I think that I, in a way, unconsciously did that too when I took this role. That was, a very athletic role. I just had to focus, and I don't think I had a choice. I wish I could tell you, yeah, I was really nervous, but I feel like I was really excited, and I didn't have a time to even think, because I had to do it. Like, I had to look like a professional. So it was a lot of work. It was a lot of going to the court every day, really early in the morning, be there all day, and then go home to sleep. And maybe if I can study my lines, and then repeat that for like 4 days, and then we worked. So I think it was just so much happening that I didn't even get a chance to second guess myself, which I think worked in my favor,
I always find that being able to flip that switch between I'm scared or I'm excited, similar feelings that one I can work with and one is going to stop me, is a huge thing, and a huge part of being able to really do what we're supposed to do when we show up at places. I know you've been acting since you were very young. Do you remember when you got first excited about it in a way that would give you that impetus to remember that this is fun and I'm going to remain excited and not this isn't a trudge. I'm not having to learn these lines. I want to do this. Do you remember kind of when that spark happened for you?
When I became excited and not nervous, because I
Or
feel like even
oh, go ahead.
even when you're talking about this, because I want to do say, like, I think the first time, because earlier in 2018, I think that what really started my career more and more here in the United States was my episode of The Blacklist.
Hmm.
And that episode that I was like, I had to play an assassin. I had to learn how to become a Brazilian and speak with that Brazilian accent. And that one for me was that scary process. It was really scary. And it was my first TV gig that was that big. It was a guest star role. And so I think that was definitely that type of excitement, scary excitement that you're like, oh, I have no idea what I'm going to encounter. I'm going to travel by myself to New York and do this. So that's why I think that in Little America, it was that type of excitement, but not in a scary way, more of a, and I also, working with Aurora, which is the director, she made me feel so comfortable. And that just, it's so important to have a director that makes you feel at peace and makes you feel comfortable and trusts you. The moment I get to work with a director that trusts me with something, I'm like, I'm good. Because I just know that they have my back and we're doing this as a team. But going back to your question, I think I was 8 years old in Puerto Rico, and I was doing a soap opera for the first time. In Puerto Rico, they don't do that many soap operas, but they were just doing it. It was like one of the first soap operas in years. It was called Dueña y Señora. And I think that was my moment where I was like, oh my God, this is so cool. And I get to eat and I get to leave school early because I was so young. And I think that was my first time that I ever felt like, oh, like this is exciting. And I love being like, in a wardrobe and trying new things and working with the lead actress. So I think that was probably the first time.
Yeah. Yeah. I could see where you'd file that away and be like, no, it's going to be worth some actual work later. That's fine. That's fine. I'll study.
Yeah. Oh yeah. 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 I definitely, I feel like it's been a long journey. Cause I started when I was little. I was 8 years old. I remember watching soap operas from Mexico and all of that and seeing all these kids work and Disney Channel and stuff like that. So I really wanted that dream. That was the big dream for me, to be a child actor. And of course, not every person can, like, I couldn't do that. My family was never going to be able to leave their whole life to do that for me. So that was always kind of the vision and the goal for me, was to at some point leave. And so during those years, from 8 to 15 years old, I was able to go to classes and do little movie, TV stuff in Puerto Rico and learn a little bit about it. But it wasn't until I came to the United States that I felt like, oh, this is real. Like, I'm here. And this is the, I don't know, the big leagues,
Yeah. In terms of, you talked a bit earlier about trust on set and feeling that. There's a lot of times I think I watch TV and I have a rough understanding that there's cameramen and there's people on the set and how many people it takes to the village to do this. But I kind of think that I want to think that they all kind of run the same. Everybody shows up and does their job and are just professional adults. And I know that it's really a mixture of personalities. Have there been things that you've found immediately are a signal of I'm going to like it here. This is a good set. I like my co-stars. Are there things that you try to do to establish those bonds?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I think, well, at first for me, it always starts with the director. Having a good director, or someone that at least addresses you and how you get to feel like you can chat with them and it feels friendly and it feels like they trust you and they're happy with you. I think that's the big thing for me, like getting to a place of comfort and familiarity with the director and feeling like I like their humanity too. I think that's very important for me, that they're good humans and I feel like that connection. I've been lucky in that sense I've worked with really good directors. Another director that I love is the one from Cuckoo the Boogeyman. He's amazing. And Aurora was beautiful too. Jessica from Raise Your Hand. I think that it's been really nice to work. I think that's the main thing for me, honestly, like the director relationship. And then, of course, it comes the cast is another. Like for Little America, the Melina, who plays my mom, and Gustavo, who plays my brother. We had like a dinner the day before we started shooting, and that was thanks to Aurora. She wanted us to all meet and get to chat, and it felt so organic and genuine that it was just okay. Like it was just a given that it was going to be fun and that it was going to be natural to work with these people. And I'm still like basically best friends with them. Like we hang out like very, very often. We live super close to each other here in LA. So that's just a testament of how beautiful our on-screen and off-screen chemistry was. So yeah, I would say definitely director and castmates, but also producers too. You know, I think that having producers that respect you, that's a big one. Having producers that don't respect you can really make a project be hell in a way.
Yeah.
Like, if once you have good producers that are there and that are making everything feel smooth, and I think that's so important to have that good energy on set, because that really Little America, the success that it has had, is thanks to that. It's thanks to the amazing producers that we had. In Little America, we had Lee Eisenberg and Natalie. Natalie is one of the best producers that I've had, and she was always taking care of us. So I would definitely say that good producers, a good director, and that amazing castmates can go a long way.
Thank you so much for talking to me about it. Folks can go watch, I believe, the entire first season of Little America is on Apple TV right now. And y'all got picked up for a second. 7 Mall's review of it is just glowing. I think everybody's really ought to go sit down and check it out. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much.
The TV Dudes is an independently run podcast and a member of the Electric Sweater Podcast Network. We are exclusively listener supported. If you'd like to help us out, go to patreon.com/TV Dudes. You can like us on Facebook and Twitter @TV Dudes. All the music for our show is by our friend and original TV Dude, Gregory J. Amani Smith. To find out more about us, go to thetvdudes.com and electricsweater.com. I'm Grant Davis. Thanks for listening.